Now, we're seeing a slowdown on the NSE, and let's say there's an indication of a market correction. What's your analysis of what's taking place?
It's true there is a slight correction on the market. This started yesterday with a decline of 9 points on the market. Today we've lost another 10. We could see a similar drop tomorrow. A lot of investors are really taking a wait-and-see approach to the market. There's been a substantial increase in the past few weeks, so there's been mild selling as a lot of investors wait and see what will be the Q1 results, but also take into account the oncoming referendum.
Now, positive news from the IMF, which has announced that it expects Kenya to be among the fastest growing economic countries in the world next year. You've just mentioned there's a referendum coming up. Now, will this ranking hold more weight for foreign investors going forward?
Yes, it's a fairly optimistic outlook on Kenya and East Africa, and even the whole of Greater Africa. We've seen some predictions as high as 8%. Kenya's comes in at about 5.8%. This is really due to the fact that they believe that the economic crisis did not affect sub-Saharan Africa as badly as they had anticipated. And there's been a lot of positive inflow of money from outside, as well as private equity coming into the region. The regional integration will also play a part in this prediction.
Let's look at some of the market news coming out today. This afternoon, Kenya Commercial Bank posted a 10% increase in profit before tax. That's for Q1 of 2010. We saw equity release 43% up, profit before tax for the same period. What's your analysis of these results and possible impact on the share price?
Okay, aside from just the profit, also worth note was the increase in their balance sheet. Total assets were up about 12.5% in just 3 months compared to what they had in their full year. So this came in to close to $3 billion. However, their gross margin, which stood at 29% at the end of last year, that is what investors are really looking at. Because if you look at Equity Bank, which you just mentioned, and compare it with KCB, which KCB has about double in terms of total assets, and yet equity announced close to the same return for the same period. So investors would be looking at the gross margin of this bank going forward.
Now, marketing communications firm, that Scangroup, released their full year results, and that's a 36.4% jump in net profits. Now, it is the only advertising company that's listed on the stock exchange. What do you make out of these results, keeping in mind the strategic relations we've seen the company take with companies such as WPP Media?
Yeah, WPP came in and bought some shareholding in the company and took up about 27%. Now, this injection, there was some surplus funds in which was not really utilized by Scangroup in the period, and they invested this in government securities. We saw that contribute to their income substantially. Billings were flat compared to last year, but now we see with the recovery that this year that should be worth watch.
Let's look at Kenya Airways. Now, this is one of the counters that has gained over 150% in terms of the share price. But the report of the airline crash yesterday, now analysts say, is likely to negatively impact the company and the prospects for the company going forward. What's your opinion on what's going on with Kenya Airways?
Okay, it is fairly unfortunate that this report really did not favor Kenya Airways in any way. And that was released yesterday. It hit the markets today, but still the market held at the price of 57, which we saw yesterday. However, given the release of the news, there was heightened activity. It traded about 10 times as much as it did yesterday, with about 600,000 shares exchanging hands. But the level remained the same. So this will definitely be a stock to watch going forward.
Another company that's facing tough times is also Mumias Sugar, which has been facing an increasingly agitated parliamentary committee, which has also threatened to have the company delisted from the Nairobi Stock Exchange. What impact is this having on the share price?
Well, you see, it's the CMA that really determines whether a company is delisted or not. The parliamentary committee can only file a complaint. And they're complaining basically about the fact that they believe the company is not acting in favor of its investors, one of whom is the government. Now, The delisting and suspension regulations are governed under Section 22. But investors have been wary. On yesterday's session, we lost about 5% on that counter. It closed at 12.90. Today, it's trading at about 13 shillings, but with good volumes and some good demand at the level at 13 shillings. So investors are being very wary.